Humanity is not falling apart because people lack desires. It is falling apart because everyone wants, more and more, to be the center of the world.
This is not human development. This is the overload of personality, which has mistaken its own image for life.
The species is not losing to hunger, but to the human being who can no longer serve anything greater than their own I.
I only want to be happy. I want to be loved. I want to feel that my life has meaning.
You are not looking for happiness. You are looking for confirmation. You want another person to prove to you that your story matters.
This is how slavery begins, without needing bars. A human being guards the cage themselves, if they believe the cage is who they are.
I am only trying to be myself. I am trying to understand what I want, what I feel, and who I really am.
That is exactly why you are so easy to control. It is enough to touch the image you call yourself, and your body begins to react before you manage to think.
That is not true. I make decisions. I choose my life.
You do not always choose. Sometimes you only execute a command that arrived in the form of an emotion.
The easiest person to lead is the one who mistakes impulse for will, and reaction for the truth about themselves.
Someone shows you success, and suddenly you feel lack. Someone shows you a beautiful body, and suddenly you feel shame. Someone ignores you, and suddenly your body behaves as if danger were near.
Because it really hurts. When someone rejects me, I do not suffer in theory. I feel it in my body.
The body hurts, but the wound was created by a story. The fact was small. Someone stayed silent, someone did not reply, someone looked differently. Personality added a sentence to it.
What sentence?
That you are not important. That you are not wanted. That you are not enough. That your existence lost value because someone did not feed your image.
This is how information becomes suffering. This is how a human being begins to grow sick from their own interpretation of the world.
So I am doing this to myself?
Not by yourself. You were taught how to suffer. First you were given a name, then a role, then shame, and then a model of the person you were supposed to become.
From that moment, you no longer look at life directly. You look through a self-image that must be protected from the world.
But a name is only a word.
In the beginning, yes. A name was supposed to help others recognize you. Later, it became the place where your fears, ambitions, wounds, masks, and other people's expectations gathered.
The name was supposed to point to the human being, but it began to replace them.
So when someone insults me, I am not defending the truth, but only my own image?
Very often, yes. You defend the name when you cannot lose. You defend the name when you fear being ridiculed. You defend the name when you choose pride instead of closeness.
You defend the name even when your child loses to your ambition, and love gives way to the need for control.
It sounds as if I had no character.
You have character, but character is not sacred. It is a fixed system of reactions that once helped you survive, and today often leads you where you did not want to go at all.
So my I is not me?
Your I is information about how you learn to exist among people. It is a map of pain, desires, defenses, memories, and habits. The problem begins when the map sits on the throne and pretends to be the king.
The body is real. Breath is real. Hunger, fatigue, touch, and presence are real. The story about you is a tool, but it cannot rule life.
School taught you comparison. Advertising taught you lack. Media taught you to desire someone else's image. The algorithm hands you a mirror every day and checks where it will hurt.
Is that why I constantly want something?
Often, you do not want things. You want relief from the tension that someone triggered in you. You buy, argue, desire, despise, and run because personality cannot bear its own emptiness.
Such a being does not build the future. It negotiates with its own reflection and calls it freedom.
Is that why everything touches me? Is that why one opinion can ruin my entire day?
Yes. Personality needs a world that constantly confirms it. Praise feeds it, criticism wounds it, silence terrifies it, and rejection threatens to break it apart.
A human being who lives this way stops being capable of responsibility greater than their own mood.
And children? What does this have to do with children?
Children lose to the cult of the adult I. They lose to a life plan in which there is no room for life. They lose to comfort that pretends to be reason, and to fear that pretends to be freedom.
Not every absence of children comes from poverty. Sometimes it comes from a person who has built themselves for so long that they no longer know how to make room for anyone else.
That is cruel.
What is cruel is that it sounds familiar.
The species does not ask whether your personality feels ready. The species asks whether you can pass life to someone stronger than you were yourself.
How do you get out of this?
First, you stop believing that every emotion tells the truth. Pain does not always mean harm. Shame does not always mean guilt. Anger does not always mean strength. Desire does not always mean freedom.
A human being begins to heal when they see the mechanism faster than the mechanism takes over the body.
Then the past becomes an event, not a sentence. Opinion becomes a sound, not a law. Failure becomes information, not identity.
So I no longer have to suffer for every thought about myself?
You do not. Personality turns thought into pain. Personality turns opinion into a sentence. Personality turns failure into proof that you are worth less.
This is the relief that the ego fears, because without drama, it loses power.
And what remains if my I steps down from the throne?
The body remains, no longer forced to defend a legend. The mind remains, seeing facts. Peace remains, needing no applause. A decision remains, no longer coming from a wound.
A human being remains, capable of love, work, closeness, and the future, because they no longer have to turn every moment into a trial over their own worth.
But alone, I will probably return to the old life.
Yes. Alone, a human being most often returns to the mirror. They return to the role, to shame, to the need for confirmation, and to the old name that knows all their weaknesses.
That is why RAZEM is not a place for decorating personality. You do not come here for a new slogan, a new mask, or another story about yourself.
RAZEM is the decision to see the mechanism that pressed your buttons before you named it yourself.
Alone, a human being defends the cage because they mistake it for home. Together, they can see the bars, disarm the old fear, and stop passing it on to children.
We're all equal before the machine.
Divided, we lose.
RAZEM.